How Ego Destroys You. Introduction. Imagine you're in the middle of a heated argument, your heart racing, your mind convinced that you're right. You're so focused on proving your point that every word feels like a victory. But deep down, as the argument escalates, you start to feel a strange emptiness, a gnawing sensation that something isn't quite right. That victory you were chasing feels hollow, and suddenly you realize that the fight isn't bringing you the satisfaction you expected. What if I told you that in this war of ego, the real loser is the one who fights the hardest to win? As it's often said, the ego says, I shouldn't have to suffer. The soul says, I have to learn from this. Ego convinces us that victory is within our grasp, but it's a trap, one that leaves us feeling disconnected, isolated, and exhausted. The more we fight, the more we lose ourselves. This war is not just against others. It's a battle that takes place within us, tearing us apart in the process. Today we're about to uncover the truth about how ego destroys everything it touches, from our relationships to our peace of mind, and why the only way to truly win is to let go. Ready to break free from the chains of ego? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Strength. Ego has a way of convincing us that we are strong, but this strength is often nothing more than an illusion. It tricks us into believing that being aggressive, controlling, or assertive in every situation makes us powerful. The ego encourages us to show dominance, seek validation, and prove ourselves to the world, thinking that this will bring us respect and admiration. But in reality, all of this only creates a facade, an external display of power that is fragile at its core. What the ego doesn't tell us is that this false strength is built on insecurity. When we constantly feel the need to show our power or seek approval from others, it reflects a deep fear of not being enough, a fear that we are weak or insignificant. Instead of building true confidence, we become increasingly dependent on the opinions of others, which only makes us more vulnerable. Each time we rely on external validation to feel strong, we are weakening ourselves from the inside out. True strength is not about dominance or control. It's about understanding our own worth without needing others to constantly reinforce it. Humility is the cornerstone of real power. When we embrace humility, we no longer feel the need to prove ourselves. We understand that strength lies in knowing who we are, accepting our flaws, and not being afraid to show vulnerability. Vulnerability doesn't mean weakness. Rather, it shows that we have the courage to be authentic, to admit our mistakes, and to learn from them. True power comes from the ability to remain calm and grounded in the face of adversity, to show compassion rather than aggression, and to acknowledge that we do not need to compete with others to feel good about ourselves. When we release the need for constant validation and stop trying to dominate others, we unlock our true potential and inner peace. In this chapter, we'll explore how the ego distorts our perception of strength, and why letting go of the need to appear invincible is the key to embracing real power. When we stop fighting to protect our fragile ego, we begin to discover a strength that is unshakable and enduring. Chapter 2. The Conflict Within. The war of ego does not only exist in the external world, it begins deep within ourselves. The internal battle between our desires, our sense of self, and our ego constantly fuels inner conflict. Our ego pushes us to seek validation, control, and superiority, creating a relentless cycle of longing and dissatisfaction. It tells us that we need more recognition, more success, more power, to feel complete. But no matter how much we attain, the ego is never satisfied. This endless pursuit leaves us feeling empty, lost, and disconnected from our true selves. Ego makes us think that we must constantly prove our worth to others, that we must compete and outdo everyone around us to be valued. It drives us to make decisions based on the fear of what others think or the need to win at all costs, even if it means compromising our own peace. We find ourselves constantly battling between the desire to be seen as important and the growing realization that this constant striving is causing us more harm than good. This internal conflict eats away at our mental and emotional well-being, creating anxiety, stress, and a lack of fulfillment. What we often don't realize is that our attachment to these external goals, driven by ego, keeps us from truly experiencing inner peace. Instead of listening to our hearts and minds, we allow our egos to dictate our choices, leaving us feeling torn between what we truly want and what our ego tells us we should want. We live in a constant state of tension, never truly at rest, because the ego thrives on this conflict. It feeds on comparison and competition, making us feel inadequate unless we are always ahead of others. The key to ending this internal conflict is learning to separate our true selves from the ego's influence. We need to recognize that our worth does not come from external accomplishments or the approval of others. True peace comes from within, from accepting ourselves exactly as we are, without the need to constantly strive for validation or success. By silencing the voice of the ego, we allow ourselves to be present in the moment, free from the tension of self-doubt and insecurity. Chapter 3. The Mask We Wear. Ego thrives on appearances, often leading us to wear a mask to the world. We create this false persona in an attempt to shield ourselves from vulnerability and protect our fragile sense of self. The ego convinces us that if we project the image of someone who has it all together, successful, confident, unshaken by life's challenges, others will admire and respect us. But the truth is that these masks only serve to isolate us from others and prevent us from experiencing real connection. When we wear the mask, we hide our true selves. We become afraid of revealing our imperfections, mistakes, and insecurities. The ego tells us that if we show these things, we will be judged, rejected, or seen as weak. So, we present a carefully curated version of ourselves to the world, one that is polished, confident, and seemingly perfect. However, the more we hide behind the mask, the further we distance ourselves from authenticity and the deeper the disconnection grows, not just with others, but with ourselves. The problem with the mask is that it requires constant maintenance. We have to keep up appearances, always worrying about how we are perceived, what others think of us, and whether we measure up. This creates an ongoing cycle of stress and anxiety because the mask is never truly our own. It's built from the desires and expectations of the outside world. We are so focused on keeping up the illusion of strength and perfection that we forget who we really are beneath the surface. What's even more damaging is that the mask prevents us from building meaningful relationships. When we hide behind a false identity, we miss out on the real connections that come from vulnerability, honesty, and acceptance. Authenticity fosters trust and deep emotional bonds, but the ego-driven mask only invites surface-level interactions that fail to nourish us. We may get admiration, but we miss out on the love and support that come from being truly seen and accepted for who we are, flaws and all. Letting go of the mask doesn't mean we become perfect or without flaws. It means we embrace our true selves, imperfections, and all. True strength lies in accepting that we don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love, connection, and respect. It takes courage to show the world who we truly are, but it's in this vulnerability that we discover our greatest power. When we stop hiding behind the mask, we give ourselves permission to live authentically, and we create space for real, meaningful relationships to flourish. Chapter 4. the desire to be right. One of the most insidious and damaging effects of ego is its overwhelming desire to be right. The ego convinces us that our perspective, our beliefs, and our opinions are superior to others. It pushes us to defend our positions, often to the point of aggression, because being right becomes a matter of self-worth. We believe that if we can prove we are right, we will gain respect, validation, and a sense of superiority. However, this obsessive need to be right can lead to nothing but conflict, frustration, and alienation. At its core, the ego's desire to be right is driven by fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of looking foolish, and fear of being judged. We are conditioned to think that admitting we don't know something or acknowledging that we could be wrong makes us weak or less intelligent. So, we dig in our heels, refusing to budge, even when faced with evidence that contradicts our beliefs. The ego tells us that backing down or reconsidering our position would make us appear vulnerable, and vulnerability is something the ego cannot tolerate. This fear of being wrong often leads us into heated arguments, debates, and disagreements, sometimes with people we care about. We spend so much energy trying to convince others that we are right that we fail to listen, understand, or consider different perspectives. The need to be right becomes more important than the relationship, the truth, or the resolution of the conflict. Instead of engaging in constructive conversation or collaboration, we are left with bitterness, division, and unresolved tension. The desire to be right can also stifle personal growth. When we cling to our ego's belief that we are always correct, we close ourselves off to new ideas, feedback, and opportunities for learning. We stop evolving because we are too busy defending our position to absorb the wisdom that might come from other viewpoints. The ego traps us in a cycle of stagnation, where being right feels more important than being open-minded and receptive. But the truth is that being right isn't nearly as important as being open and willing to learn. True wisdom comes from recognizing that we don't have all the answers and that there is always room for growth. When we let go of the need to be right, we open ourselves to the possibility of learning from others, admitting when we are wrong, and evolving in ways we never imagined. This doesn't mean abandoning our values or beliefs. It simply means being humble enough to understand that no one has all the answers, and that sometimes the best way to move forward is to let go of the need to be right. We will examine how the ego's obsession with being right distorts our thinking, damages our relationships, and limits our growth. We will also explore the benefits of letting go of this need for validation, and how embracing humility and open-mindedness can transform our lives. By learning to prioritize understanding over being right, we free ourselves from the prison of the ego and open the door to true growth, connection, and peace. The ability to say, "I don't know," or "I was wrong," is not a weakness. It is a powerful step toward personal liberation and emotional freedom. Chapter 5. The Cost of Winning. In the battle of egos, we are often led to believe that victory is the ultimate goal. The ego convinces us that winning is what will validate us, bring us satisfaction, and prove our worth to the world. Whether it's in a personal relationship, at work, or in any competition, the desire to come out on top often feels like the most important thing. However, the truth is that the cost of winning in a war fueled by ego is often far greater than we realize. Winning at all costs can leave us empty, isolated, and disconnected from what truly matters in life. When we focus too much on winning, whether it's winning an argument, a promotion, or a battle of wills, we often sacrifice relationships, peace of mind, and even our own sense of happiness. In the pursuit of victory, we become so fixated on the outcome that we lose sight of the journey, the people around us, and the deeper values that should guide our actions. We may gain the prize, but we often lose something far more valuable: our integrity, our connection to others, and our inner peace. The ego's drive for success often leads us to justify behaviors we wouldn't normally condone. We might manipulate situations, hurt others, or abandon our values in order to win. In relationships, this could mean insisting on being right or trying to control others, even at the expense of the emotional well-being of those we care about. In the workplace, it could involve using others as stepping stones to climb the ladder, disregarding collaboration and compassion in the pursuit of personal gain. In these situations, even when we win, the victory feels hollow. The cost of winning is emotional disconnection, broken trust, and a deep sense of dissatisfaction that lingers long after the win has been achieved. What's even more destructive is that the ego never lets us enjoy our victories. Once we've won, the ego immediately pushes us to look for the next conquest. There is no moment of peace or satisfaction, only the relentless pursuit of more success, more recognition, more power. The problem is that this endless cycle of striving to win doesn't lead to fulfillment. It leads to exhaustion, burnout, and a growing emptiness. We find ourselves chasing after victories that no longer bring joy, and yet we feel compelled to keep running. True success, on the other hand, is not measured by victories over others, but by the peace and fulfillment we experience within ourselves. Real success is about finding balance, being true to our values, and building meaningful relationships based on mutual respect and trust. It's about being content with who we are and where we are in life, rather than constantly seeking external validation. Winning is fleeting, but living in alignment with our authentic self brings lasting peace. In this chapter, we will explore the hidden costs of winning in a battle driven by ego. We will discuss how the ego distorts our understanding of success and how we often sacrifice the things that truly matter: our relationships, peace of mind, and sense of self, just to feel victorious. We will also look at how letting go of the need to win in every situation can bring a deeper sense of fulfillment, allowing us to experience success that is more meaningful, sustainable, and aligned with our true values. The real victory lies not in defeating others or accumulating more, but in finding contentment with who we are, nurturing the relationships that matter, and living in harmony with our core beliefs. True success is not about winning, it's about living a life that reflects our deepest values and brings us peace, joy, and fulfillment. Let go of the ego's grip on winning, and you will find that the true rewards in life come from a place of inner peace, authenticity, and love. Chapter 6. The Power of Letting Go. In a world that constantly pushes us to acquire, control, and hold on to what we have, the concept of letting go can feel counterintuitive. We are taught that holding on to things, whether it's material possessions, achievements, relationships, or even our personal identities, is a sign of strength. Ego feeds into this belief, convincing us that what we own, who we are, and what we've accomplished define us. But in reality, the constant need to hold on to these attachments only serves to bind us, limiting our freedom, peace, and growth. True power lies not in holding on, but in the ability to let go. Letting go can be a challenging concept because it asks us to release control over the things that we believe give us security and identity. The ego creates attachments to outcomes, people, possessions, and even certain beliefs or ideas about who we should be. We fear that without these attachments, we will lose ourselves, that we will be left with nothing, or that we will be incomplete. However, this fear stems from the false belief that our worth is tied to what we hold on to. In truth, our worth has always been inherent within us. independent of external factors. The truth is, the more tightly we cling to things, the more we suffocate our own growth. When we hold on to past mistakes, old grudges, or unhealed wounds, we remain stuck in a cycle of pain and resentment. These attachments prevent us from moving forward and experiencing the freedom and joy that come with emotional release. Ego thrives on attachment, urging us to hang on to feelings of hurt or anger, convincing us that we are justified in holding on to these emotions. But in doing so, we only prolong our suffering. Letting go is not about forgetting or excusing hurtful actions. It's about releasing the emotional burden that we carry with us. It's about freeing ourselves from the past so that we can move forward with clarity and peace. Letting go also applies to our sense of identity. Ego makes us believe that who we are is defined by our roles, achievements, and how others perceive us. We become attached to our titles, whether it's as a parent, a professional, a leader, or even a victim. These labels become the masks we wear, and we tie our self-worth to them. When life changes, or when these identities are challenged, we feel threatened because we have attached our sense of self to them. But true power comes from recognizing that our essence is not dependent on any external label. We are not defined by what we do or how we are seen by others. We are defined by who we are at the core of our being. The process of letting go is not easy, and it requires vulnerability. It means embracing uncertainty and stepping into the unknown without the crutch of attachments. However, letting go is also incredibly liberating. It frees us from the constraints of ego and opens the door to new possibilities. When we let go of the need to control every aspect of our lives, we open ourselves up to unexpected opportunities and experiences. The more we release what no longer serves us, the more space we create for peace, joy, and growth. Letting go is a powerful act of self-liberation that allows us to experience life in its fullest, unburdened by the weight of the past or the fear of the future. In this chapter, we will explore how ego's attachments keep us trapped in cycles of fear, dissatisfaction, and pain. We will discuss the power of letting go of past wounds, old identities, toxic relationships, and limiting beliefs, and how this process allows us to step into a life of freedom, peace, and true power. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means freeing ourselves from the need to control, the need to prove, and the need to cling to things that no longer serve us. It is in this release that we discover a strength that comes from within, unshakable, unwavering, and true. When we let go of the ego's grip, we become open to the flow of life, unencumbered by unnecessary burdens. In this freedom, we find clarity, purpose, and a deep sense of inner peace. The true power of letting go is not in the absence of things, but in the presence of our authentic selves, fully aligned with what truly matters. Letting go allows us to embrace the fullness of life without being weighed down by the past or the expectations of others. It is the path to freedom, and it is only through this release that we can truly discover our greatest power. Chapter 7. Embracing True Power. True power is not what the world often leads us to believe. It's not about controlling others, asserting dominance, or accumulating material wealth and accolades. The ego has led us to believe that power is external, that it is something to be earned through competition, recognition, or force. Yet the real power lies within us, in the quiet space of inner peace, self-mastery, and authentic living. True power is rooted in our ability to align with our inner selves, free from the constant pull of the ego and the need for external validation. The ego constantly pushes us to seek power through domination, whether that means winning arguments, achieving status, or gaining influence. It leads us to believe that the more we have, the stronger we become. But this type of power is fleeting. It's built on an unstable foundation of fear, comparison, and insecurity. The more we rely on external sources of power, the more vulnerable we become to loss, criticism, or failure. This is because the power we gain from the outside world is never truly ours. It is conditional, transient, and dependent on factors beyond our control. True power, on the other hand, is unconditional. It comes from within, and it is grounded in self-awareness, emotional resilience, and the ability to maintain inner peace, no matter what is happening around us. The ego often blinds us to this truth, as it thrives on the idea of achieving power through external means. But the real strength we possess lies in our ability to remain calm, focused, and centered even when the world around us is chaotic. It is the ability to act from a place of clarity and authenticity, rather than reacting from fear, insecurity, or ego-driven desires. When we stop chasing external validation and begin to trust ourselves, we tap into a power that is unshakable. This power is not about being the loudest in the room or the most successful on paper. It is about knowing who we are at our core and standing firm in that truth. It is the power of self-acceptance, of living authentically, and of embracing vulnerability. It's about knowing that we are enough, just as we are, without needing to prove anything to anyone. True power also involves letting go of the need to control others or manipulate situations to get what we want. The ego tells us that we must dominate or win in every circumstance, but true strength lies in surrender. This doesn't mean weakness. It means letting go of resistance and allowing life to unfold as it is meant to. True power comes from the ability to adapt, to be flexible in the face of change, and to remain at peace with what is, rather than constantly fighting against it. When we release the need to control, we open ourselves to the flow of life, which brings more opportunities, growth, and fulfillment than we could ever force. Another aspect of true power is the ability to be of service to others. The ego makes us believe that we must focus on ourselves and our own success, but in truth, the most powerful people are those who are able to lift others up, offer compassion, and contribute to the greater good. Power is not about taking, it is about giving. It's about showing up for others, supporting them in their struggles, and sharing our wisdom and resources. The more we give, the more we receive, not in material terms, but in the form of love, trust, and fulfillment. Embracing true power also means embracing the present moment. The ego constantly drags us into the past, making us dwell on past mistakes, missed opportunities, and regrets. It also pushes us into the future, where we worry about things that may never come to pass. True power lies in being fully present, in recognizing the power that exists in the here and now. When we are present, we are able to make decisions from a place of clarity and alignment with our authentic self, rather than reacting from fear or anxiety. In this chapter, we will explore how to embrace true power by transcending the ego's need for validation, control, and external success. We will discuss the importance of self-acceptance, vulnerability, and letting go of the need to be right or in control. We will also look at how living authentically and being of service to others can unlock a power that is grounded in love, compassion, and inner peace. True power is not something to be earned. It is something to be recognized within ourselves. It is the quiet strength that comes from knowing who we are, standing firm in our truth, and living with integrity. This power is unshakable because it is rooted in our essence, not in external circumstances or achievements. When we embrace this power, we stop seeking to dominate others or prove our worth. Instead, we cultivate a life of peace, joy, and fulfillment, grounded in authenticity and self-awareness. The greatest power we can possess is the power to be ourselves, unapologetically, authentically, and without fear. When we embrace this truth, we no longer need to fight for control or recognition. We are free to live with purpose, to serve others with love, and to walk through life with strength, peace, and clarity. This is the true power that lies within each of us, waiting to be unlocked. Chapter 8. The Freedom of Non-Attachment. In a world that constantly emphasizes possession of things, titles, relationships, and even ideas, the concept of non-attachment may seem paradoxical. How can we live a fulfilling life without holding on to anything? Isn't attachment what drives us to succeed, to love, and to form connections? The answer lies in understanding that while attachment is a natural part of being human, it is the attachment rooted in ego that leads us to suffering. True freedom comes when we learn to live without clinging to anything, when we embrace life without the need to possess it. Attachment, as driven by the ego, tells us that we need to have control over every aspect of our lives. Whether it's a material object, a relationship, or even a certain way of thinking, the ego convinces us that these things define who we are, and that losing them means losing ourselves. But this kind of attachment is rooted in fear. The fear of loss, the fear of change, and the fear of being incomplete without them. The truth is, the more we cling to something, the more we bind ourselves to it. We become trapped by our desires and the belief that we need certain things in order to feel whole. True freedom arises when we break free from these attachments and realize that nothing external can define us or bring us lasting happiness. This doesn't mean that we stop caring or loving, but rather that we learn to love without possession, to care without attachment, and to experience life without the need to control or own it. Non-attachment allows us to engage with the world fully, without the weight of expectations or the constant fear of losing what we have. It allows us to appreciate each moment for what it is, without the need to hold on to it or to make it last forever. The ego makes us believe that love means possession, that to love someone we must own them, control them, or ensure they remain in our lives at all costs. This attachment can cause us to act out of insecurity, jealousy, or fear of abandonment. But love, in its purest form, is free. It is the freedom to let go of expectations and allow the other person to be exactly who they are without trying to mold them into something we want. When we practice non-attachment in our relationships, we create space for true love to flourish. We allow people to come and go freely, and in doing so, we experience the beauty of authentic connection, free from the chains of possession and control. The same applies to our thoughts and beliefs. Ego tells us that we must hold on to our opinions, that we must defend them at all costs, or else we'll lose our sense of self. But when we become overly attached to our beliefs, we become rigid and closed-minded. We stop being open to new ideas or perspectives, which limits our growth. Non-attachment to our thoughts means allowing ourselves the freedom to question, to evolve, and to grow. It's about recognizing that we are not our thoughts, we are the awareness behind them. When we let go of the need to cling to certain beliefs or opinions, we free ourselves to experience life as it is, without the filter of ego. Non-attachment also allows us to experience life in a more relaxed and peaceful state. When we stop trying to control every outcome, when we let go of the need to make things happen in a certain way, we free ourselves from the anxiety and stress that come with trying to force life to bend to our will. We begin to trust that things will unfold as they are meant to, and we learn to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and acceptance. In this state of non-attachment, we find a deep sense of peace because we are no longer burdened by the fear of loss or the need to control everything. True power lies in our ability to detach from the outcomes, from the need for validation, from the fear of loss, and from the desire to control. When we live with non-attachment, we gain the freedom to experience life as it is, beautiful, imperfect, and ever-changing. We stop fighting against what we cannot change, and instead, we embrace the flow of life. We stop defining ourselves by external circumstances or possessions, and we begin to live in alignment with our true essence. In this chapter, we will explore how attachment to people, possessions, and ideas limits our freedom and happiness. We will look at how the ego creates false attachments that bind us to fear and insecurity, and how non-attachment allows us to live with greater peace and authenticity. Through practicing non-attachment, we learn to let go of the need to control, to possess, or to define ourselves by external factors. We will discover that true freedom comes not from holding on, but from letting go. And in this freedom, we find the power to live fully, without fear or limitation. The journey toward non-attachment is not about detaching from life or relationships. It is about engaging with life fully, without clinging. It is about recognizing that our worth is not tied to what we own or what we achieve, but to who we are at the core of our being. When we embrace non-attachment, we let go of the illusion that we need anything to be happy, and we open ourselves to the limitless possibilities of living a life of true freedom, peace, and power. Chapter 9. The Art of Surrender. Surrender is often seen as a sign of weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. The ego tells us that we must fight, resist, and control in order to succeed or survive. It encourages us to hold on to our ideas, our possessions, and our sense of self, and to never let go. Surrender, in the eyes of the ego, feels like giving up, like losing the battle. But in truth, the art of surrender is one of the most powerful practices we can adopt in our journey toward true freedom. It is not about giving up or being passive. It is about letting go of the struggle, releasing the need to control, and trusting the flow of life. Surrender is not about passively accepting things as they are and doing nothing. It is not about resignation or giving in to helplessness. Rather, it is the ability to release our attachment to specific outcomes and trust that life will unfold as it should, even if it doesn't go according to our plans. The ego wants to control every aspect of our lives, to dictate how things should happen, and to maintain a sense of certainty. But the truth is that we cannot control everything, and the more we try, the more we create resistance, stress, and suffering. Surrender is the practice of letting go of the need to control and embracing the uncertainty and mystery of life. The ego often leads us to believe that we must fight for everything: our relationships, our success, our peace of mind. We are taught that to achieve anything, we must struggle, compete, and prove ourselves. This mindset creates constant pressure and a sense of exhaustion as we try to force things into being. We believe that if we just push hard enough, if we just exert enough effort, we will achieve what we desire. But this drive to control is rooted in fear, the fear of failure, the fear of not being enough, and the fear of losing. And when we act from fear, we create more resistance, more tension, and more struggle. Surrender, on the other hand, comes from a place of trust and acceptance. It is about recognizing that we don't need to force everything to happen. When we let go of the need to control the outcome, we allow ourselves to flow with life rather than against it. Surrender is the realization that we are not in charge of every detail of our existence, and that sometimes the best course of action is to release our grip and let life guide us. The ego also makes us believe that surrender means weakness or failure, but true strength is found in the ability to surrender. Surrender requires great courage, because it asks us to let go of our illusions of control and to trust in the unknown. It is a form of inner strength that arises when we recognize that we are not the masters of everything, but rather participants in a larger, unfolding process. Surrender is not about giving up on our goals or dreams. It is about letting go of our attachment to how those goals should be achieved. When we release our expectations and allow the process to unfold naturally, we open ourselves up to greater possibilities than we could ever have imagined. In relationships, surrender allows us to love without attachment. The ego tells us that we must possess the people we love, that we must control their actions, and that we must hold on to them tightly. But this kind of attachment only creates resentment, fear, and disconnection. True love, on the other hand, is about allowing others to be who they are, without trying to change or control them. It is about embracing the freedom to love without the need to possess. Surrendering in love means accepting that we cannot control another person's thoughts or actions, but that we can choose to love them fully, without expectation or judgment. Surrender is also essential in achieving inner peace. The more we resist, the more we suffer. The ego constantly wants to fight against what is, to resist reality, and to push against the present moment. But true peace comes when we accept things as they are, without the need to change them. Surrendering to the present moment allows us to find stillness, clarity, and peace, regardless of the circumstances. When we stop fighting against life, we begin to experience it with a sense of ease and joy. In this chapter, we will explore the art of surrender and how it can transform our lives. We will discuss how the ego's desire to control and resist creates unnecessary suffering, and how letting go of that need to control can lead to greater peace, freedom, and fulfillment. We will look at the courage required to surrender, and how this practice can open us up to a life of greater flow, trust, and connection. Surrender is not about weakness or passivity. It is about strength, trust, and acceptance. It is about recognizing that we are not in control of everything, but that we can still navigate life with grace and clarity. When we practice the art of surrender, we stop fighting against life, and we begin to flow with it. We let go of our attachments, release our need to control, and trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The true power of surrender lies in its ability to free us from the chains of resistance and fear. When we surrender, we stop holding on to the need to prove ourselves, to control others, and to dictate outcomes. Instead, we embrace the uncertainty of life and trust in the process. In this surrender, we find peace, we find strength, and we find the freedom to live fully, without fear or limitation. By learning the art of surrender, we allow ourselves to step into the flow of life, where everything unfolds with ease and grace. It is in this space of surrender that we experience true freedom, a freedom that comes not from control, but from trust, acceptance, and the courage to let go. Chapter 10. The Journey to Self-Mastery. Self-mastery is the pinnacle of personal growth and transformation. It is the ability to control one's thoughts, emotions, and actions, and to live in alignment with one's true purpose and values. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, through external pressures, societal expectations, and the incessant demands of the ego, the path to self-mastery can feel overwhelming. But the truth is, self-mastery is not about perfection or rigid control. It is about finding harmony within ourselves, understanding our true nature, and cultivating the strength to live authentically and consciously, regardless of the external chaos around us. At its core, self-mastery is about knowing who we are at our deepest level, and using that understanding to guide our choices and actions. It is the practice of becoming the best version of ourselves, not by force or willpower, but through patience, self-awareness, and consistent effort. The ego often convinces us that self-mastery means controlling every aspect of our lives, that it means silencing every negative thought or emotion. But in reality, true mastery comes from learning to navigate those thoughts and emotions with wisdom and grace, without being swept away by them. One of the first steps towards self-mastery is understanding our inner world. The ego often clouds our perceptions, making us believe that we are our thoughts, our emotions, and our circumstances. We identify with our past, our achievements, our failures, and the opinions of others, all of which are transient and ever-changing. But the truth is that we are not our thoughts or our feelings. We are the awareness behind them, the observer, not the observed. When we recognize this truth, we begin to detach from the ego's grip and see things clearly. This awareness is the foundation of self-mastery, as it allows us to make conscious choices rather than react impulsively to external triggers. The ego's need for control and validation often leads us into patterns of self-sabotage. We chase after external rewards, money, status, approval, believing that they will bring us happiness or fulfillment. But these external pursuits are fleeting. When we rely on external validation, we are constantly at the mercy of others' opinions and circumstances. Self-mastery, on the other hand, comes from within. It is about cultivating an internal sense of peace, satisfaction, and worth, so that we are not swayed by external circumstances. When we are grounded in our own sense of self, we no longer need the approval of others to feel secure or validated. To master ourselves, we must learn to embrace our emotions rather than suppress them. The ego often tells us that emotions like anger, fear, or sadness are weaknesses, that we should hide them or push them away. But emotions are not our enemies. They are messengers, signals that tell us about our inner state and our needs. Self-mastery involves understanding these emotions, acknowledging their presence, and learning from them. Instead of reacting impulsively or allowing ourselves to be consumed by our emotions, we can choose how to respond to them. We can learn to act from a place of clarity, wisdom, and inner peace, rather than from a place of fear or desire. In addition to mastering our emotions, self-mastery requires discipline. Discipline is not about harsh self-control or repression. It is about cultivating the ability to stay focused on our goals and values, even when faced with distractions or challenges. Discipline is the ability to make decisions based on what is truly important to us, rather than succumbing to the whims of the ego. It is the strength to say no to things that do not serve us, and yes to the things that align with our highest purpose. Self-mastery requires us to establish healthy habits, set clear intentions, and consistently take action, even when we don't feel like it. Another key aspect of self-mastery is self-compassion. The ego often leads us to be harsh on ourselves, to criticize our mistakes, and to strive for perfection. But true mastery comes when we are able to accept ourselves fully, flaws and all. We must learn to forgive ourselves for past mistakes, to let go of guilt and shame, and to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to others. Self-compassion allows us to grow without judgment, to embrace our imperfections, and to keep moving forward with grace and patience. In this chapter, we will explore the steps to achieving self-mastery and how to navigate the obstacles that arise along the way. We will discuss the importance of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, discipline, and self-compassion in the journey of self-mastery. We will look at how to cultivate the inner strength to make conscious choices, how to detach from the ego's need for external validation, and how to embrace the full spectrum of our emotions as opportunities for growth. Self-mastery is not a destination, it is a lifelong journey. There will be times when we falter, when we face setbacks or challenges, but each of these moments is an opportunity to learn, to evolve, and to grow stronger. The journey towards self-mastery is about becoming more of who we truly are, shedding the layers of ego and conditioning, and living in alignment with our authentic selves. It is about embracing the process of growth, trusting the wisdom that resides within us, and continuously striving to become the best version of ourselves. The path to self-mastery is not easy, but it is one of the most rewarding journeys we can embark upon. When we master ourselves, we are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances or the whims of the ego. We become the conscious creators of our lives, making decisions from a place of clarity, purpose, and peace. We are no longer driven by fear or desire, but by the deep knowing that we are enough, just as we are. This is the power of self-mastery, the power to live fully, to experience life with intention, and to become the person we were always meant to be. Chapter 11. The Courage to Live Authentically. Living authentically is perhaps one of the most courageous things we can do in life. It requires us to show up as our true selves, without the masks, the pretenses, or the false personas that we often put on to fit in, gain approval, or protect ourselves from judgment. The world is full of pressures to conform, to succeed in certain ways, to behave according to societal expectations. But when we live authentically, we break free from these constraints and embrace the freedom of being ourselves, unapologetically and without fear. Authenticity is not just a choice. It is an act of radical courage. The ego thrives on external validation. It wants us to fit in, to seek approval, and to measure our worth based on how others perceive us. We are often taught from a young age that our value is determined by external accomplishments, our grades, our job, our social standing. The ego becomes attached to these labels, believing that they define who we are. However, true authenticity comes from within. It is about living in alignment with our deepest values, desires, and beliefs, regardless of what others think or expect. This type of authenticity is a deep inner knowing of who we are, separate from the expectations and judgments of the world. The courage to live authentically means releasing the need to seek approval from others. It means no longer trying to meet the expectations of society, family, or friends just to gain acceptance. The fear of rejection, of not being good enough, often holds us back from stepping into our true selves. We worry about how others will judge us if we show up as who we really are. The truth, however, is that the more we hide behind a mask of conformity, the more disconnected we become from our own hearts. We may win the approval of others, but we lose ourselves in the process. Living authentically requires us to embrace vulnerability. Vulnerability is the gateway to connection, creativity, and growth. Yet, it is also where the ego feels the most threatened. The ego wants to protect us from vulnerability, fearing that it will lead to rejection or failure. But vulnerability is where true strength lies. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open ourselves up to deep and meaningful connections with others. We allow ourselves to be seen for who we truly are, flaws, imperfections, and all. And this is where real intimacy and understanding are born. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is an act of bravery and authenticity. In living authentically, we also give ourselves permission to release the need to please others. People-pleasing is a common trait driven by the ego's fear of disapproval. We try to be everything to everyone, thinking that this will make us lovable, worthy, and accepted. But people-pleasing only drains our energy and leaves us feeling empty. It is impossible to truly please everyone, and when we try, we lose sight of our own needs, desires, and values. Authenticity means honoring ourselves first, knowing that it is okay to say no, to set boundaries, and to pursue what feels right for us, even if it doesn't align with what others expect. Another key aspect of authenticity is embracing our uniqueness. The ego often compares us to others, telling us that we must look, act, or be a certain way to be considered valuable. But true authenticity comes when we celebrate our individuality. We are all different, with unique gifts, experiences, and perspectives to offer. When we stop trying to fit into a mold that others have created for us, we start to experience the beauty and freedom of embracing our own uniqueness. The world needs our authentic selves, not a version of us that is shaped by external pressures. Living authentically also means making choices based on our own inner guidance rather than on external influences. When we align our actions with our values, we live with integrity and purpose. Authenticity is not about doing what is popular or what others expect us to do. It is about listening to our own hearts and making decisions that reflect who we truly are. It's about trusting ourselves and having the courage to walk our own path, even when it's not the easiest or most conventional route. The fear of judgment is one of the biggest barriers to living authentically. We fear that if we show up as our true selves, others will criticize, reject, or even ridicule us. But the reality is that when we live authentically, we inspire others to do the same. By embracing our authenticity, we create a ripple effect that encourages others to step into their own truth. We teach others that it's okay to be themselves, to embrace their flaws, and to live according to their own values. Authenticity, in this sense, becomes a gift, not only to ourselves, but to everyone we encounter. In this chapter, we will explore the importance of living authentically and the courage required to do so. We will discuss how the ego's need for approval and validation holds us back from embracing our true selves, and how letting go of these fears opens the door to deeper fulfillment and connection. We will also look at how vulnerability, self-compassion, and self-acceptance play crucial roles in living authentically, and how embracing our uniqueness can empower us to step into our highest potential. Living authentically is a lifelong journey, one that requires ongoing reflection, self-awareness, and courage. There will be times when the pressures of the world try to pull us back into conformity, but the more we practice living in alignment with our true selves, the more natural it becomes. The reward for living authentically is immense, a life filled with greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. When we show up as who we truly are, we not only find deep satisfaction within ourselves, but we also create a space for others to do the same. And in this space, we can truly connect, grow, and experience the fullness of life. The courage to live authentically is the ultimate act of self-love and self-respect. It is a decision to honor our true nature, regardless of the external world. When we embrace authenticity, we free ourselves from the chains of societal expectations and step into the power of our own truth. And in doing so, we find the freedom to live a life that is uniquely and beautifully our own. Chapter 12. The Power of Presence. In a world that moves faster than ever before, where distractions are endless and the future constantly looms large in our minds, there is one quality that can change everything: the power of presence. Being truly present, here, now, in the moment, is one of the most transformative practices we can cultivate. Yet, In our society, we are often pulled away from the present by the demands of work, the expectations of others, and the constant flood of information. We spend much of our time either thinking about the past, regretting decisions made, or reliving moments, or worrying about the future, stressing over what may or may not come. The ego thrives on this constant distraction, convincing us that we need to plan, prepare, and anticipate everything, that if we just keep thinking ahead, we will avoid failure, disappointment, and pain. However, the truth is that the only place where life is happening is right now, in this very moment. Presence is the act of fully experiencing life in the present moment, without being caught up in thoughts, worries, or distractions. It is the ability to focus all of our attention on what is happening right now, whether it is a conversation with a friend, the feeling of the wind on our face, or the taste of our food. When we are present, we are fully engaged with life as it unfolds, and we can respond with clarity, wisdom, and joy, rather than reacting impulsively from our ego or anxieties. The power of presence comes from the realization that the past is gone and the future has not yet arrived. While we may reflect on the past to learn from it, or plan for the future to set goals, we cannot control either. The past has already shaped us, and the future will unfold no matter how much we try to anticipate or control it. The only true power we have is in this moment, the present moment, where we can choose how to react, what to focus on, and how to experience life. When we practice presence, we reclaim our power over our lives. The ego is constantly pulling us away from the present. It tells us that we need to worry about what's coming next, that we need to keep planning, or that we need to dwell on past mistakes and missed opportunities. This constant chatter of the ego keeps us disconnected from the now. It pulls our attention away from the present, making us anxious, stressed, and discontented. However, when we choose to be present, we free ourselves from the ego's grip. We allow ourselves to simply be, to feel the experience of the moment without the need to control, judge, or analyze it. One of the greatest benefits of presence is its ability to reduce stress and anxiety. When we focus on the present, we stop worrying about what could go wrong in the future or what we could have done differently in the past. Stress and anxiety are often the result of living in the future or the past. The future is full of uncertainty, and the past is full of regret and missed opportunities. But when we focus on the present, we begin to feel grounded. We recognize that right now, in this moment, we are okay. We have everything we need in the here and now. This realization brings peace and calm, as we stop resisting what is happening and instead accept the moment as it is. Being present also allows us to experience deeper connection with others. When we are fully engaged in a conversation, listening without distraction, we create a space for genuine connection. We stop thinking about what we're going to say next, and instead, we truly listen to the other person. This not only strengthens relationships, but also helps us to understand others on a deeper level. The more present we are in our interactions, the more we create space for love, compassion, and empathy. Presence enhances our ability to experience joy. When we are caught up in the busyness of life or distracted by our ego's endless demands, we miss out on the simple pleasures of life. The sound of birds singing, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the taste of a delicious meal. These moments pass unnoticed when we are not fully present. But when we make the conscious choice to be present, we begin to appreciate life's simple joys in a new way. We find joy in the small things because we are no longer focused on what is missing or what we have to achieve. Presence allows us to be grateful for what we have right now. The practice of presence also allows us to tap into a deeper sense of purpose. When we are present in our work, in our relationships, and in our daily tasks, we can do them with greater intention and focus. Instead of rushing through our to-do lists or simply going through the motions, we begin to engage with life in a more meaningful way. We are more mindful of our choices and actions, which helps us to live in alignment with our values and goals. Presence brings clarity and direction, allowing us to act with purpose and intention, rather than simply reacting to life's demands. We will discuss practical techniques for being present, such as mindfulness meditation, deep breathing, and grounding exercises that can help us anchor ourselves in the now. We will look at how to bring awareness to our daily activities, whether it's eating, walking, or talking, and how to become more present in our relationships, our work, and our personal growth. We will also examine the role of the ego in keeping us disconnected from the present, and how to quiet the ego's chatter so we can experience the fullness of life. The journey to presence requires practice. The ego's pull is strong, and it can be difficult to stay grounded in the present moment. But the more we practice, the easier it becomes. The power of presence is available to us at any moment. We don't have to wait for the perfect circumstances or a special occasion. We can choose to be present now. When we do, we begin to experience life in its fullest form, without judgment, without distraction, and without the need to control. In the power of presence, we find peace, connection, and joy, all of which flow from the simple act of being fully here, now. The true freedom lies in the moment, the only moment that we ever truly have. When we embrace presence, we step into the fullness of life, unburdened by the past or the future. And in doing so, we discover that we have everything we need right now to live a fulfilling, meaningful, and peaceful life. Chapter 13. The Wisdom of Letting Go. Letting go is often viewed as a sign of defeat or loss, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful practices we can cultivate on our journey of self-mastery and personal growth. The ego convinces us that we need to hold on to certain things, whether it's people, possessions, identities, or beliefs, in order to feel secure, successful, or validated. However, the truth is that holding on too tightly to anything only creates resistance, attachment, and suffering. True freedom and wisdom lie in the ability to let go. When we learn the art of letting go, we make space for new opportunities, healing, and growth. It is a practice that invites peace, clarity, and deeper connection to ourselves and the world around us. The ego often leads us to believe that our worth and identity are tied to what we possess or what we control. We attach our sense of value to our accomplishments, our relationships, and our material possessions. We believe that by holding on tightly to these things, we will secure our place in the world, protect ourselves from pain, and find happiness. But in truth, nothing in the external world can ever provide us with lasting fulfillment or security. Everything is transient, and the more we hold on to things, the more we create a sense of fear and anxiety around losing them. Letting go does not mean abandoning our responsibilities or desires. It means releasing the attachment to the outcome. It is the ability to experience life fully without being consumed by the fear of losing what we have or not getting what we want. The wisdom of letting go lies in recognizing that the things we cling to are not what define us. Our true essence, our worth, is inherent and cannot be taken away by external circumstances. When we let go, we free ourselves from the grip of ego-driven desires and attachments, allowing ourselves to live with more freedom, joy, and peace. Letting go also means releasing past wounds, regrets, and grudges. The ego tells us that we must hold on to our past in order to protect ourselves, that by remembering the hurt or the betrayal, we are somehow guarding ourselves against future pain. But the truth is that holding on to past hurts only keeps us trapped in a cycle of resentment, anger, and pain. When we release the past, we free ourselves from the emotional weight it carries. Letting go of resentment is not about condoning the actions that hurt us. It is about setting ourselves free from the control that these negative emotions have over us. It is about choosing peace over pain, forgiveness over bitterness, and healing over suffering. Another aspect of letting go is releasing the need to control everything. The ego constantly wants to be in control of situations, people, and outcomes. It tells us that if we can just plan everything perfectly, if we can anticipate every possible scenario, we will be safe and secure. However, the more we try to control, the more we create stress and frustration. Life is unpredictable, and trying to control every aspect of it only leads to exhaustion and anxiety. Letting go of the need to control is about accepting the unknown and trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to. It is about surrendering to the flow of life, knowing that we are supported and guided even when we cannot see the bigger picture. Letting go also involves releasing limiting beliefs and self-imposed limitations. The ego feeds on fear and doubt, convincing us that we are not good enough, not smart enough, or not worthy of success. These limiting beliefs hold us back from reaching our full potential. They keep us stuck in a mindset of scarcity and limitation. But when we let go of these beliefs, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We begin to realize that we are capable of far more than we ever thought possible. Letting go of fear and self-doubt allows us to step into our power, trust in our abilities, and take bold action toward our goals. Letting go is also essential in our relationships. The ego often leads us to try to control or possess others. We believe that if we can control how others behave or think, we can avoid conflict or ensure that we are loved and valued. However, this need for control only creates tension and distance in relationships. When we release the need to control, we allow space for genuine love and connection. We begin to appreciate others for who they truly are, without the need to change them or force them into a mold. Letting go in relationships means accepting others as they are, without trying to manipulate or control them, and allowing them the freedom to be themselves. We will explore how the practice of letting go can lead to a life of greater freedom, peace, and fulfillment. We will discuss how to let go of attachments to people, possessions, and outcomes, and how to release the past and the limiting beliefs that hold us back. We will also examine the role of forgiveness in the letting go process and how it can free us from the emotional weight of past hurts. Letting go is not about weakness or passivity. It is about strength, wisdom, and courage. It requires us to face our fears, trust in the process of life, and allow ourselves to be open to new possibilities. The wisdom of letting go is rooted in the understanding that nothing in life is permanent. People come and go, possessions wear out, and situations change. But our true essence remains constant. When we let go of attachments, we are able to live more fully in the present moment. We stop clinging to the past or anxiously anticipating the future, and instead, we embrace the beauty of life as it is right now. Letting go creates space for new experiences, new opportunities, and new relationships to enter our lives. The power of letting go is about freeing ourselves from the illusions of control, fear, and attachment. It is about living with an open heart, trusting that everything we need is already within us, and embracing the flow of life with grace and acceptance. When we let go, we release the heavy burdens we carry and make room for the joy, peace, and abundance that is always available to us. It is in the act of letting go that we truly find freedom. The journey through the exploration of ego, self-mastery, presence, and the wisdom of letting go reveals a profound truth. The path to true freedom lies within ourselves. We often look outward, towards material possessions, status, or the approval of others, in search of fulfillment. But the real treasure is found when we turn inward. The ego, with its need for control, validation, and superiority, keeps us trapped in cycles of dissatisfaction, fear, and disconnection. But by releasing the grip of ego and embracing humility, vulnerability, and authenticity, we begin to discover the boundless peace and joy that come from living in alignment with our true essence. The power of presence teaches us to live in the moment, fully engaged with life as it unfolds, rather than being lost in the past or overwhelmed by the future. It is through the practice of presence that we uncover the beauty of each moment and experience life in its fullness. Similarly, the art of letting go shows us that true strength comes not from holding on to things, beliefs, or identities, but from surrendering the need to control and trusting that life will unfold in its own time. Letting go frees us from attachment and allows us to experience the flow of life with greater clarity, peace, and freedom. In the pursuit of self-mastery, we learn that true power lies not in dominating others or external circumstances, but in mastering ourselves, our thoughts, emotions, and actions. It is through self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and discipline that we come to embody the best version of ourselves, without being enslaved by the whims of the ego. True power is not about force, it is about alignment with our deepest values and inner truth. As we embrace the wisdom of living authentically, we realize that the courage to be ourselves, unashamed and unapologetic, is the most liberating gift we can give ourselves. Authenticity is not about fitting into society's molds. It is about expressing our uniqueness and walking our own path with confidence, knowing that we are enough just as we are. The journey of releasing the ego and embracing our true selves is one of profound transformation. It is a process that requires courage, patience, and unwavering trust in ourselves and the flow of life. As we let go of what no longer serves us, whether it's outdated beliefs, past hurts, or the need to control, we create space for new possibilities, deeper connections, and a life that is aligned with our highest potential. The freedom we seek is not a destination, it is a way of living. By practicing presence, embracing vulnerability, letting go of attachments, and stepping into our authentic selves, we unlock a life of limitless possibilities. In this freedom, we find peace, fulfillment, and the profound understanding that we are whole and complete, just as we are. The true power lies not in our ability to control or possess, but in our ability to flow with life, to trust the process, and to live fully in the moment. This journey is a lifelong one, but it is one worth taking. As you continue on your path, remember that the greatest gift you can give yourself is the freedom to be yourself, unapologetically, authentically, and completely.